Hi everyone, and welcome to part 3 of the Castle Forest colour along. So in this part today we're going to be tackling the compass, this beautiful sort of ornate compass, and we'll see how far we get with that and if we can do anything else on the page. So the colours that I've chosen for the outside of the compass, these sort of metal wings that open up to see the compass, are really quite deep and quite rich colours. And it's actually a 5-colour blend, so as you know I normally only do about 3 colours in a blend, but I really wanted to get this going from super dark to super light, and I've chosen the colours black, magenta, alizarin crimson, pale geranium lake and orange glaze, and all of those create a really beautiful blend from very, very deep and dark shadows to very light highlights. So I'm going to zoom in now so we can see the compass close up. See if I can move the book across a bit. I've got such a small desk, I really need like a massive desk to fit everything on. Okay, so there we go. Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our darkest colour, which is clearly the black, and we're going to colour around the outside edges of these wings. So we're going very dark toward the edge and bringing it out in a very light pressure so that it can blend into that magenta. So I'm sorry that this part has taken so long to actually to be uploaded. I've been so busy the past few days, the past week really. I've been going out and about, I've had lots and lots to do at home, and yeah, so sorry that it's taken quite a long time to get to you. But hopefully you will like the colours that I've chosen. I knew that we were going to have a lot of green on the page because of the leaves, and I knew that we were going to have you know, blue for our flowers and things like that, so I wanted to try and contrast, because there's no red in these griffins, so I wanted to try and contrast the colours to make the maximum effect on the eye. So I've chosen these kind of reddy orange palettes. So next up with magenta, I'm going to go over the edge of the black, just making sure that you can blend it in. So hopefully you'll have left a nice hazy edge of black for this magenta to blend into. Now remember, we've got 5 colours to fit on this wing, so you just need to gauge it a little bit to see how far you need to bring each colour down. Always remembering just to leave a feathered edge for the next colour to blend. So I hope you've all had a nice week or two since we last spoke. As I say, I've been really busy. Alizarin Crimson is next. And I'm also going to be busy later today. I was talking to my sister last night. She works really hard. She's her job is like 45-50 hours a week or even longer sometimes. And she's got a lot going on at work, and she's getting quite stressed out with the fact that she doesn't get home till really late at night. So it might be sort of like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock sometimes, and she leaves the house at sort of 7 o'clock in the morning. So she was getting quite stressed out with not having time or energy to sort her house out. And I said to her, well, there's not a lot I can do about your stresses at work, but leave me your key in the letterbox tomorrow morning before you go to work, and by the time you get home your house will be nice and tidy. So I'm going to go up there later, go in and just do a bit of tidying for her, really, take a bit of pressure off, because she does work really hard, bless her. Pale Geranium Lake is next. So very busy. What else have I been doing? I've been painting a lot of rocks. That's probably why I haven't been doing so much colouring. Me and the kids are really into that. Hopefully you saw the video that I did the other day with the kids painting the rocks and taking them out and about. So I painted about 4 or 5 rocks last night. I did Jack Skellington and Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. And I did, what else did I do? I did a unicorn, and I did Toad from Super Mario. So I've been having loads of fun with that. It's awesome. I like drawing. I can't draw, so I follow tutorials, but I do like doing it because the finished sort of piece gives you quite a sense of achievement, a bit like colouring. And then you can just go and hide it out and about, and you might never see it again. Chances are you probably won't, but other people are going to get something out of it. Might cheer them up when they're walking out and about. Okay, so as you can see, we've got to the end of the wing. So we've come right from black right to very light orange glaze. And as always, if you're not happy with the progression of the blend or anything like that, you can go back in, you can go over it. Polychromos are brilliant for layering. They'll just layer and layer forever, as long as you use them quite sparingly, quite lightly. So you can just go back in. If you think the black isn't blending enough, you can go back in with your magenta, go over it again and again. It's totally up to you. It depends how yours looks. I can't really tell you whether you're going to need to do that or not. So it really depends how it looks to your eye. But we're going to do exactly the same. Flip it over onto this side. So black again. And following exactly the same steps as we just did. So yesterday I got a phone call from my eldest son's school. He's in secondary school now, the first year of secondary school. Now over here in the UK we have a bit of a structure for our schools. I'm not sure whether I've mentioned this before, but it's quite different to you guys in the US. I'm not sure how it works in Australia and elsewhere, but over here most children start school at the age of 4 or 4.5. So if you're 4.5 before September of the year, you will start school in that September, because school always starts in September. And then you'll stay in that school until you're 11, and then you'll move up to secondary school. And you'll stay in that school until you're 16 and you leave school. And then it's up to you whether you go to college for a couple of years after that and then university, or you just leave school and get a job. Anyway, where are we? Yeah, so he's in the first year of secondary school, which we call year 7, because it sort of starts with primary school. So you start with year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you leave in year 6. And then year 7 continues as the first year. Anyway, I'm boring you. So he's in the first year, and he's been there for almost a year now. So we're in, what are we in? May, and he started last September. So he's coming up for his first year in big school, as we call it. And I got a phone call yesterday afternoon. It was actually after the time that he would have left school, because he walks home, but he wasn't quite home yet. And it was his maths teacher, and she said to me, I'm just calling to let you know that Shane has an after-school detention. And straight away I was like, oh gosh, why? What's he done? Because he's such a good boy. It was quite a bit of a shock to hear that he's got a detention. So I'm thinking he's done something, awful and out of character. And she says, well, all the children in his maths class are chatting too much in class, and we're not getting anywhere with our lessons, and lessons aren't progressing like they should be, blah blah blah. So the teacher had a word with them all before the lesson started, saying, we've got to knuckle down, we've got to stop chatting, we've got to get on with our work, rightly so, and if you don't, you'll be getting after school detention. So they were warned. And what does my son do? He decides to have a chat, and ends up with an after-school detention. So I said to her, obviously, I'm in full support of it. If he's been told and he hasn't done it, go for it. I mean, he gets it from me. Every single report that I had from school was always talks too much. Every single lesson, because I'm quite chatty. And So I waited for him to get home and I pretended to be like really stern with him because I'm totally the opposite. And I was like, well, I've just had a phone call from your maths teacher. She says you've got an after school. And he was like, yeah, I have. I says, why were you chatting in class? And he said, I wasn't. Somebody else said something and I started laughing in response, and then I got a detention. So anyway, it's all good, you know. Kids chat, kids get told off at school. I'm not concerned about him in the slightest. In fact, it was early last week we went to his parents' evening, which is basically where you go and sit with every single teacher of all of his lessons and see how he's doing. And I tell you something, I floated out of that parents' evening on air because every single teacher told me how amazing he's doing in school. And it was quite a surprise because he comes home from school every single day and I say, how was school? It was boring, I don't want to go. And he's really about everything. And all of his teachers were telling me how enthusiastic he is in class, putting ideas forward, getting involved, and he's getting A's and B's with pretty much everything. So I was so impressed by him. But you know, sometimes you just chat too much in class, don't you? I know I did. So yeah, I'm not bothered about that, but it was quite funny when he got home though, because he explained to me about just laughing at someone's joke and that's why he got the detention. But the fun fact was that he had actually finished all of the work set for the class and he'd already put his hand up asking if there was anything else to be done because he'd just finished and everyone else was still going on. So he had nothing to do and he'd already asked. So, I mean, what do they want him to do? Just sit there in silence, staring at the front? I don't know. Anyway, we've got our other wing done there. Probably did slightly too much black coming into here, but you know what, I'm not bothered. We also have to do this slither in between the sort of curly filigree type thing here. So, I've gone on the wrong side already. I don't know what's up with me today, actually. I feel a bit like I'm here, there and everywhere. Okay. So starting from this edge, obviously, because this is the side that we've got the black, really sharp pencils, just putting in this slither of colour so it looks like these bits, these curly bits are sort of sitting on top of the wing. Okay, and the same again on the other side. Tell you what, because I normally colour with Prismacolors, they're like my go-to pencil. Every so often I'll get the polychromos out and I always remember how good they are. But I'll just forget that and go back to Prismas, but they are really lovely to use, especially on this paper. Paper in Ivy seems to be a really nice stock to use with polychromos. And I love the fact that you don't have to worry about them breaking every 5 seconds, they're so strong. Okay. So the other bit that we're going to do with these colours before we put them away is this sort of second ring around the compass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the black just at this side here, this right hand side, and do a little bit of black. And exactly the same on the other side. So we've got 2 equal sides of black. Then next colour, magenta, on either side. So we should end up with our lightest colour at north and south here. And then the alizarin crimson. Absolutely love this colour. The pale geranium lake, and leaving that last bit of room for the orange glaze. So we're just continuing the colours that we've used on the front. It gives a bit of continuity to the piece, a little bit of cohesion, so it's all, you know, it all looks like it's been made to go together. Okay, so you can put those colours away now, we don't need those anymore. And for the gems on the front of the wings, and also for the other bits of the compass, the other sort of circles, we're going to be using some lovely blues. Now, I don't really know why I chose blues, but I just thought that it might look nice against the red to have some sort of sapphire type gems. So the colours that I've chosen are helio blue reddish, bluish turquoise, and light cobalt turquoise. Now we're going to start with our darkest colour, as we always do, and we're going to go on this left hand side of this gem here and just do a stripe following the contours of the gem of this helio blue reddish, just like that. So very, very sharp pencils. We're then going to get our bluish turquoise, follow on from that, leaving just a nice bit of white for our final colour. And if you have your pencils sharpened enough, you will be able to just blend this, the lightest colour, which is the light cobalt turquoise, into the previous, the medium blue, and still leave a little bit of white on this right hand edge, and it just gives that bit of shine, making it look slightly 3D. Again, you can go back with your darkest colours, so let's do that on this one. Helio blue reddish on the left hand side, bluish turquoise blending in, and the light cobalt turquoise to blend that out into a bit of white. There we go. So very, very easy, simple, but it still looks quite nice. And we'll do exactly the same on the other side, but we're just going to flip it. So we're starting on the right hand side with our darkest colour this time. Middle colour. Lightest colour. Now, if you want to, if you've got a white gel pen, you can go in and just put a little dot or a little line on your gems just to show a little bit of highlight. And then with those same blues, we're going to go to the inside of the compass, so just behind where all the compass points are sitting. We're going to get the darkest, the helio blue reddish, and go around all of the edges. Now it's easier if you do this in sections between those larger points, rather than trying to sort of do it all the way around, otherwise you're going to be going over the points. So do it in sections, darkest on the outside, leaving that hazy edge on the inside. Doing this all the way around. Okay, so once you've done that, middle colour, bluish turquoise, taking it almost right to the centre, but not quite, because we do need to put our very lightest colour in the centre. So just leaving a little bit of room. Your middle colour is basically your transition colour from dark to light. So as long as it's blended the edge of that darkest colour out and it leaves room for the other colour, that's its only function really. It's a transitional colour. Okay, and once you're happy that you've blended that all out, you can go in with your light cobalt turquoise and just fill in all the gaps. Don't worry about leaving any white like we did on our gems. Don't need to do that here. Just basically filling in the gaps. Okay, so once you've got all of your colours down, you might be able to see some areas where you need to blend it a little bit further. For example, with this medium colour, I can see that there's a bit too much of a harsh line here, so I'm just going to add a very light layer so that it blends better with the lightest colour. And the next bit that we're going to do is this thick outer ring, and that should be it with the blues, I think. So with this, we're going to do similarly to what we did on the inner ring with the reds, is we're going to start with our darkest blue at either side. And then our medium blue, leaving some room at the bottom for our lightest blue. Now at the top here we don't have a lot of room for this to sort of continue round, so we'll just do a very, very narrow stripe of this medium blue, and then we'll just fill the rest in with the lightest blue. Let me just sharpen the pencil. So with the lightest blue, just filling in the rest. And again, down here. Now, don't those blues look absolutely lovely next to those deep reds and oranges that we used? I think they go really, really well together. Now, what you're going to need is either some gold paint or a gold gel pen, or you could even use the golds that we used on the griffins if you want to use pencils, but I'm going to use gold gel pen for a change. Now I have a Jelly Roll Stardust pen here. This is the gold one, and I'm going to be just simply colouring all of these lovely curly bits of metal, well, I think they're metal, in the gel pen. Now you can do this with your gold paint, you can do it with a gold marker pen, but I think the gold really goes well with the red. You can do it in silver or bronze if you wanted, but I think the gold looks best. I don't know if you can see the sparkles on camera, but this is a lovely sparkly gold. I absolutely love the Jelly Roll pens. A lot of gel pens, the glitter ones, they'll lose their glitter, so they'll look incredibly sparkly when you first colour it, and then you go back to it a couple of days later and it's just faded and the glitter's sort of been lost in it for some reason. But these stay really, really glittery, so I really love these pens. I'm hoping that you like what I've done with the compass. I wasn't really sure how to tackle it because I wanted it to look metallic and ornate. But at the same time, I did want some really lovely blends on there, and you know, so I could have made the entire thing metal instead of doing the reds. But I don't know, I like the way this looks. I hope you do too. So I'm doing these little bits here, and I'm doing this entire bottom of the wing in gold. Now don't forget, even if Johanna or any artist has put lines there, that doesn't mean you have to colour each section individually like stripes. You can just use it as a detail on the top. You can just colour the whole thing and that can just be a detail. You can even add lines in, so if that had been completely blank, you could have added those lines in just as a bit of extra detail. So don't think that you've always got to colour every single section in different colours. That's why I'm going over this entire thing with gold, because I think it looks really pretty. Now again, for this thin band, we're going with gold. And you know what I've just noticed? That little bit there, it doesn't actually follow on to anywhere. Little mistake from Johanna there, caught you out. Okay, so just doing anything that we've got left with the gold. So these bands around here. And then all of these little bits around the bottom, we're going to colour gold as well. Now, I had a bit of trouble thinking about what colours to do the compass points. I did try them in red and it just didn't look good. It sort of looked very dark and faded, and I wanted them to look really poppy outy. So I've decided to do the main points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in gold, and then the little points behind in red. So colouring in all these big points in that centre area with your gold. And then the little points behind it, we'll get our pale geranium lake, which is the lightest of the reds that we used. Let me just make sure it's super sharp. And colour those in. So we're contrasting the blue and we're contrasting the gold. But we're all in keeping with the theme, with the colour palette that we've chosen. It's nice to keep palettes limited, I think, because it all looks very cohesive. And then we'll just do that centre area in the red as well. Now, as you can see, or as I think anyway, that really makes it pop. And basically we've done our compass. So really hope that you've enjoyed this part 3 to the colour along. We're only on half an hour this time. I think I am going to leave it now until the next part, because the next part's going to be all of these flowers and berries down here, and that's going to take quite a bit of time to do, and I haven't got the colours worked out yet. So this part was just for the compass. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you think that the page is looking good so far and it's what you expected. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next part.